Hi team, welcome to the weekend project session. First of all, let me introduce myself. This is Mohan. Here I'm working as the senior cloud engineer. I'm parallelly work on DevOps also. Okay, so why this project session we plan means many people's having their profile as a fresher. So if they are looking for a job means at least they should have a hands-on knowledge. So for that, every week we plan this weekend session to help them. Okay. So in that perspective, so this week we're just going to see one project that is server migration. Server migration from AWS to Azure. How we can do it and the complete guidance, complete steps, complete documentation I'm gonna give you so you can proceed it. Okay. So yeah, let's get started. Okay, I hope you all able to see my screen. Yeah. So this is the project agenda. We're going to migrate our EC2 web server to Azure Virtual Machine. Okay, if you are completely new from the other background, like you literally a beginner in AWS or Azure, you might had a knowledge on Python or any existing technology. Okay, but some basic knowledge you should have here. Then only you would proceed this project. Basic knowledge in the sense this is the prerequisites. Okay, so at least you should able to create an EC2 instance, and also you should able to configure the simple web services inside, and then only you can proceed this demo. After that, you should have a basic knowledge about Azure subscription permissions and to create the resources. Okay, these are all basics. And then the basic knowledge of Windows virtual machines and Linux virtual machines. These knowledges are enough to proceed this project. Okay. So, and then what are all the tools here we using? Those all I mentioned here. AWS EC2, Azure Virtual Machine, Azure Migrate. Actually, this is not only for assessment, and also we would use this for migration. Okay. Azure Migrate is a service, Azure Managed Service. Using that service, we able to migrate from AWS to Azure, on-premises to Azure, from GCP. Your server can be in any cloud. You will be able to migrate it. And then you should have a knowledge on RDP and SSH. RDP basically we use for Windows, and SSH basically it's in Linux machine. And then RDP we should allow. And then resource group. This is basically in Azure to group all the resources in a particular place. We use this. Resource group is mandatory to manages the resources in Azure. And also Azure networking. Basic Azure networking you must know. Okay. Basic Azure networking means the simple VNet creation, subnet creation, and then route table mapping, route propagation. This kind of basic knowledge you must have. And then about the public IP, you should know, because that we're gonna use here. And then file transfer tool. Why this file transfer tool here we using means, uh, in this demo, in this first part, I'm not going to do this practically. Why? Because this migration process would take long time. Okay, so that I couldn't cover in this 40 minutes. But you guys don't worry. I'll make a YouTube video for that. That I'll put lot of all the entire complete demo. There you will get the practical exposure. Okay, so today I'm just going to give the complete steps and guidance only to you. Why this file transfer we gonna use in the sense, we're gonna have the source server. That source server going to have the application, the real-time application. Okay. So how we would move our application into the server? Some file transfer tool we should have. That can be WinSCP or Rsync. Also, you can use GitHub. That kind of version control systems also you can use it. AWS S3. Like lot of tools are there. You can use it for the file transferring. Okay. So these are all the things we just going to use. Generally, to proceed the migration, when we would do the migration, first of all, that we should know. Correct? See, in this case, what is our client requirement? We have to move our EC2 web server into Azure. Okay. So what will be the cases when we would proceed this in real time? Generally, Azure had a lot of regions than the other cloud providers like AWS, GCP, but still AWS is the peak in the market. But even though Azure also the emerging cloud, these people also settling in the second position. The reason is many reasons are there. I'll tell you few. Um, AWS had only few regions. Azure had almost 60 plus regions. You can be anywhere in the world. You will get the services as more faster than AWS. Okay, that might be the case. In addition to that, some service pricing differences are there. When compared to AWS and Azure, some services are less in price in Azure. Okay, obviously, if you're comparing it in AWS, some resources are less in price in AWS also. So all peoples are providing the pricing calculator. Using that pricing calculator, we need to calculate what amount we gonna receive after the infra setup. Okay, after that we can proceed the infrastructure creation. This will be the cost. One is cost wise, another one is maintenance wise, support wise, and then the location availability. These are all the reasons to move the EC2 servers from AWS to Azure. Okay. So first one is before to proceeding the migration, we have to perform the assessment. Okay. Assessments mean nothing. Your AWS EC2 server is really fine to proceed the migration or not. This is eligible or not. What will be the issues? To know the issues, we have to perform the assessment. Here the assessment steps are given here. Okay. So before to see the assessment steps, look into this architecture diagram. This is a simple architecture diagram. I just took it from the internet. Just see here. This is our client mission. Client mission in the sense you can consider this as the source virtual machine. Here our application is running. Okay. And then here two servers are there. Azure Migrate application appliance and replication appliance. Okay, first we going to discuss about this Migrate appliance and then only we're going to discuss about this replication appliance. Using these two resources, we are just going to perform the migration into Azure using Azure Migrate service. Here, storage account, site recovery is also there. We'll discuss about it. But in AWS, we should have these three things: client machine, Azure Migrate appliance, and then replication appliance. Appliance means nothing. This all just a server. Generally, wherever you're hearing a word called appliance in this project, that is literally a server. Okay, in that server some configurations we need to do, then that will become a respected resource. Okay, so this is what we need to proceed here. This is the basic architecture I put here. Now we need to proceed the assessment. Okay, this is the assessment procedures. Okay, so first discovery appliance. Okay, first we need to create the discovery appliance. Discovery appliance means nothing. We need to create a virtual machine in AWS. Okay, simply we need to create an AWS appliance. AWS virtual machine. We can consider EC2 server. EC2 server we need to create. What will be the configuration? 8 core CPU, 16 GB RAM, and 80 GB HDD. This will be the server configuration. Why this is means? This is for assessment process. Assessment process. Okay. After you created the discovery appliance, we need to create a source virtual machine. Okay. Source virtual machine can contains 4 core CPU, 8 GB RAM. Okay, so this also in the same VPC, and also this can be in the different VPC, but you have to you have to enable the peering. like in this architecture diagram. If your discovery appliance, this is what discovery appliance, Azure Migrate appliance, discovery appliance, both are same. Okay. So if you're supposed to perform the migration or assessment, both should, this communication should happen privately. Okay. If those servers are belongs to the different virtual network, we need to proceed the peering. If those virtual networks are, sorry, if those virtual machines are in the same network, we don't go with the peering, we can directly proceed it. So for that, here what I defined, both should be in the same VPC. In addition to that, if both virtual machine, source virtual machine and discovery appliance, both belongs to the same virtual network means you will not face the latencies. Okay. After you configure the source virtual machine in Azure, you need to create a new migration project. New migration project means simply you need to do this. Let me show you. I'm not going to create, I'm just showing you. Azure Migrate, like if you just gonna search, you will be able to see that option. That is coming. There you need to create a migration project into an Azure Migrate service. Once you created the project, you need to proceed the discovery option. Okay. I'll show you here. It is still loading. Okay. After, what you have to do means you need to open the download link. Okay. In that EC2 appliance. EC2 appliance means nothing. If you gonna open this discovery option, you will be able to see one download link. You need to copy the download link and you need to put it in that EC2 appliance. EC2 appliance means this discovery appliance. AWS EC2, you can put it like discovery. Okay. This discovery appliance. And then we need to extract it. There you would able to see the PowerShell script that you need to run. Okay. If you're gonna run, you will be able to see some options. Okay. So public endpoint, Azure public cloud, and on-premises migration strategy, and you need to finish it. Okay. So here we need to pick the public endpoint. Why? Because we are not having any dedicated connection from AWS to Azure to proceed this migration as more secure. So we need to proceed with the public endpoint. And also uh, in Azure, we are using the public cloud. So that option we need to pick. And on-premises migration strategy that we have to pick, and we can finish it. One sec. It's loading. Okay. Now I think this page is loaded. Okay. So here you need to search for Azure Migrate. This is the service, guys. Azure Migrate option. Here we need to create a new project, but um, I deleted the project, but you guys needs to create it. So if you go, not only for server migration, if you had a web apps or database or servers database appliance, like you supposed to migrate means, you can create a projects accordingly. So here we need to proceed the creation. This step I put it in this line. Okay. After that, after you finished, we need to copy the link actually. PowerShell would throw you one link. You need to click it. Then one new tab would open. In some cases, what will happen in the sense, this PowerShell would create a shortcut in your desktop. Okay, in this appliance desktop. Desktop means the desktop folder location. Okay. You need to click that shortcut. Then these options and all would appear. First, you need to log in your Azure account in that appliance console, and you need to register the key. Register with the key means you just gonna hit the button. It will get registered, and you need to put the source virtual machine credential, the username, and then the password which you're using in the source virtual machine. And then you need to provide the IP address that needs to be discovered, right? And you can start the discover procedure. Once you proceed the discover procedure, this would take some time, literally around 10 to 15 minutes it would take. Then you will be able to see this virtual machine into an Azure portal. Okay. So here itself I put it there. Please check the Azure portal showing in the discover items in the Azure Migrate. After that process, we can create the assessment. Okay, in this assessment only, we just literally finding the respective virtual machine size, the calculations, cost calculations, and then other virtual machine configurations and are literally compatible or not. In this assessment process only, we literally checking those. Okay, in this official documentations and all you can follow. Okay, this is the official documentation. If you just wanted to go on through, you can go and visit the site, no problem. I just simplified the documentation here. Okay. I just literally simplified the documentation. If you go into the documentation, there are a lot of things, a lot of alternatives also they given over there. But those I simplified here. Uh, if you just wanted to know more, you can go and visit this document, official documentation page. This is the actual assessment process, guys. Actually, you can skip this assessment process before proceeding the migration. But in some rare case, you will be facing the issue. Okay. You will be facing the issue while the assessment process. If you're facing that issue, you couldn't proceed the migration. So the best way is after assessment, migration will be the great choice. Okay. And then coming to the actual migration steps. So here I put it here. Here I put all the exact steps with some screenshots I added. Okay. So this is the replication appliance, replication server, configuration server, um, replication server, configuration server, replication server, configuration server, process server. Okay. Like if you're hearing any term in this documentation, those all literally representing this replication appliance. Okay, this is going to migrate our AWS machine into Azure. Okay, so this is the actual hardware configuration we require. That is 8 core CPU, 16 GB RAM, and 700 GB we require. Okay, because 600 GB should be in free. So 700 GB minimum we needed. And then Windows 2016 we can use. Don't go with the 2018, 20, 22, 25. Why? Because if you are going to check it in the official documentation, they are not suggesting to proceed migrations on latest 22 on 25. So what they suggesting means 2016 they are suggesting for the migration. So 16 is the best choice to proceed the migration. Okay, so this will be the replication appliance, which means this. Okay, just before we discussed about this one, this migration appliance. Okay, for the assessment process. Now we're discussing about the replication appliance. This is going to proceed the migration for us from AWS to Azure. Just go back, one step back. Just scroll here. Um, okay, so why I'm taking my virtual machine, sorry, why I'm creating my source and replication server, and then the migration appliance, everything into an South India means if all the servers are belongs to the same region means this migration process would become too easy. Okay. So you just had a replication server in a different location and source server in a different location means then the migration process would take more time. So for that, the best recommended thing is just keep it all the resources in a same location. That will be the great choice. After this process, what we have to do is in the Azure portal, we need to create a one more Azure project. Okay. So two Azure project we need to create. One is for assessment process, one is for migration process. Okay. Uh, so that so that you can proceed the migration. Migration project can be in South India because our business application is running in South India. So we just taking it. In your demo also, you can take the respective location where you located. After that, in that migration tool, now we need to proceed the discover. Okay, now we need to proceed the discover and Azure Virtual Machine and South India. We need to select. And if we proceed the create means, it would configure the ASR. ASR means Azure Site Recovery. Okay, generally we would use this Azure Site Recovery for the VM replication. Okay, so that's why it's creating behind in the AWS. We would able to see this ASR in Azure portal. Okay, after we clicking the discover, we need to choose install replication appliance. Okay, so we need to download this actual file. Okay, once we download it, we need to download this registration key also. Okay, this is the sample key I just downloaded from my Azure personal portal, but if you're going to use the same, it won't work. In your case, this will be differ. Okay, so you need to download from your Azure portal. Okay, this appliance, this registration key, you will be able to see in your Azure portal. There you need to download it. And then you can run the installer and you need to update this key. And you need to update this key and MySQL password it would ask. MySQL actually it using behind, but we are not going to using MySQL, but this is the prerequisites. MySQL, we don't need to configure anything separately. If we're gonna proceed this in backend, it would configure the MySQL for us. Okay. For us, but we are not going to use this MySQL actually. And then this is the actual time when I started, just for the example. Okay, I just started 9:58. I think few months before I proceed the same project for my client. He's an US client. I just started this process at 11:58 p.m. That took around 40 to 50 minutes. Okay, just think about the today session. We're just planning to conduct this today session just to 30 to 40 minutes. So how I would put the complete demo in this just 30 to 40 minutes. So for that, I plan to make a video, as I said before. Uh, Once the installation procedure is done, you will get one Farah phase. Okay, fast phase. So example, that will be like this. One pop-up window would appear after the installation. You need to copy this because you need to update this phase into the source virtual machine. Okay, so you need to copy this Farah phase. Here itself I said it's required to install mobility agent in the source virtual machine. And once we restarted the migration appliance, replication server, configuration server, replication appliance, everything is same. Okay. After that, after you restarting this migration appliance, if you're going to refresh the AWS Discover page, you will be able to see the name like this. Okay. This will be the our configuration server that is appearing. Okay. this configuration server is present on AWS. Now we are able to see this server option into Azure because of the installation which we performed in the replication server. After that, see, this will be the example. Be able to see it. Okay. So this will be the page, Azure Migrate. And if you're gonna scroll, here we need to put the finalized registration in Azure portal. Once we finalized, it would show the message like this: registration finalized. Okay, then you would able to perform the migration. Okay. Once this process is over, now you need to configure the mobility agent. See, generally, without mobility agent, you can proceed the migration. How that we would proceed means, we need, one server is running, we need to take the complete server backup. That can be VHDK or OVA file disk. That can be in the disk format. Using the disk format, we would able to migrate it. Okay. But now what we're gonna do is, one server is running in a particular one, in one server, the live server, we're just going to take the we're just going to migrate it to an Azure. Okay. So for that, what we proceeding means, mobility agent we are installing. Okay. Mobility agent is mandatory, and this is the official documentation. You can just go and look in to configure the mobility agent. So this is the actual exe file. Okay. So this download option, this option you will able to see. Once you downloaded this agent would configure into this particular repository. Okay. Once you configure this, you need to take the virtual machine. Sorry. Once you configure this one into your uh, replication server, you need to take the source VM remote using private IP. Why? Because both virtual machines, the replication server and also um, the source server, belongs to the same virtual network. So you need to take the remote, private remote. Why? Because now we're going to configure this mobility agent over there. Okay. In that source VM, we need to create a path and save the agent package into this location. Okay. In this temp location. Here itself I posted. You don't need to go anywhere to find the path and commands. First, you need to create the directory like this, and you need to configure this exe and this command you need to put. After you configure these commands, this will be the command you for agent installation, mobility agent installation. These are the prerequisites, and this is the actual command to proceed the installation. And then this is the one to configure the configuration server inside the source machine. Okay. So first we need to move into this directory, and here we need to update the replication server IP here, and then the paraphase. Paraphase means pass.txt. Like what I did is, here, if we look into um, here we got one paraphrase, right? Fast phrase that we need to copy, and we need to create one simple text file, and there you need to paste it. Okay, there you need to paste it, and you need to put that file path here. Okay. And sometimes if you directly passing that paraphrase, it couldn't accept. So that's why we creating a text file. Inside the text file, we placing the paraphrase, and then we putting here. Okay, this is the replication server IP, and this is the passphrase file path which we got from the replication server. Once we give it, uh, sec, once we done this execution, we can restart the source VM. Okay, we can restart the source VM. Then what will happen means, sec. Then what will happen means one image would reflect in Azure. One new image would reflect in Azure. Like if you're just going to see into a virtual machine in this Azure Migrate or virtual machine, you will be able to see that image. Okay, I'll show you where you can see that image. Just go and click the virtual machine. Just give some name. Okay, actually, network watcher we couldn't use. I'm not going to create, I'm just showing you. Here you would able to see the image which you migrated from AWS into Azure. If you're going to hit see all images, okay, so you will be able to see the images. If you look into the my images here, that image would appear. By selecting that image, you will be able to recreate the same server in Azure. Okay, once you created the server, the migration process is completely over. Okay, so this is the project, guys.